This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everyone, good morning, good evening. This is Satish. Um, so this new course, this is targeted, is slated for performance testers, performance engineers, and for them, how Linux is going to be useful, or rather, um, how are we going to get comfortable with Linux when it comes to performance testing project. So that is what we wanted to cover this in a crash course. See, a lot of things are going to be same when it comes to Windows or Linux, right? You're going to do scripting. Um, you're going to do the execution analysis. So when it comes to scripting, the scripting is going to happen on the your laptop or your Windows VM. Nothing is going to change, right? And when it comes to analysis, you're going to have a report in your mission, again in a laptop, which you're going to analyze it, prepare a report. Uh, so which means majority of your work are still going to be in Windows VM. But uh, when it comes to your application under test, right, that is still going to be, most of the cases, the applications are going to be hosted in Linux. So you are going to interact with the Linux OS when it comes to application under test, and the infrastructure for your execution, right? Be it is your controller or a master slave or your load generator, are still going to be, most of the time it is going to be Linux, right? So from a hardware perspective, the things which you will interact, you have laptop on your side or your VM, and then you have your web servers, application servers, database servers, and then your load generators. And there might be missions where you will install monitoring tools, maybe. Okay? So these are the hardware that you are going to interact with, use it. So in that, your from a scripting perspective, from an analysis perspective, from a report perspective, from a management perspective, all these things you are going to pretty much use your laptop or your Windows VM most of the cases. When it comes to your application under test, 90% of the time, your servers are going to get hosted in the Linux OS, right? Simple reason is the stability which Linux provides, security which Linux provides, the cost, open sourcing capability. So all these things makes your Linux preferred in Windows, especially on three things: one on the security, second on the performance, third is on the your stability, right? So the Linux OS, the way it has designed, it has evolved from Unix, that stands out when it comes to all these important non-functional aspect. Your application is going to run the same way in Windows and Linux. Nothing is going to change functionally, but when it comes to performance, when it comes to stability, when it comes to security, uh, nothing matches the Linux when it comes to Windows. That is why people prefer using it. Okay, and we also, from a performance testing infrastructure, we also prefer load generators to be in Linux. Load coming out from load generator. So your hardware, your machine is going to handle a lot of concurrency. Performance is going to be key. So your load generators in Linux can handle more load when compared to the Windows, plus the stability, right? So which means when you are going to be there in the project, you should be comfortable enough to use these missions, be it as a load generators or your application servers, to interact and do things that you need for your performance testing project. Okay, we no need to be a Linux expert, right? We don't want to. We are not supposed to become a Linux expert, or probably person who can go and write a lot of shell scripts. No, that is not required. basic things what we are going to use practically, um, the usage of Linux in performance are going to be: number one, you will be asked to create the load generators, Linux based load generators. In some projects earlier, right, people will provide you the missions. They will provide you the load generators, they will provide you the access, even they will install all the softwares. They will give a minimal access to you only, right? They won't give you the admin access and all. They will just provide you the mission IP, and it all will be pre-installed. You will just configure the load generator in your controller, or depending upon the tool that you're going to use. Okay, but now in recent years, with the evolution of cloud and DevOps, these things are meant to be done by the performance testers itself. You have to create your own load generators, install the softwares, and then connect to uh, your tool, and then execute the test. Right. So, which means you should know how to create the Linux machines, and then how to install the softwares. Okay, so when it comes to load generator, right, the interaction is going to be: one is you need to install the load agents. Either it is going to be a LoadRunner load agent, or is it going to be a Jmeter, whichever tool, right? And then you have to transfer your scripts from Windows to your Linux. Same way, you have to transfer your results, right? Be it as a LRR file, or maybe for or it is going to be a Jmeter JTL file. Whichever tool you are going to use it, you have to transfer these scripts, the data files, the reports from Windows to Linux, or Linux to Windows, right? And then you have to execute those required commands in the load generators as per the Linux protocol. So number one is the interaction with the load generator is going to be there practically. Okay, and second is the interaction with your service, application service. Okay, um, in some cases, or I would say 50% of the time, your applications are going to be configured with AppDynamics, Dynatrace, or APM tool, which is going to provide you the all the required analysis, all the required monitoring, right? So monitoring your Linux server or a Windows server through Dynatrace AppDynamics is not going to be different at all. It's all UI. In the UI, you will log in and then monitor your Linux and Windows-based servers. Nothing is going to change. But in the cases where you don't have an APM tool, you have to log into these Linux machines, and then either you need to set up your own monitoring for monitoring the your OS level metrics, or you should be able to go and execute some of those utilities like vmstat or iostat or top to get the metrics. So number one, you will be monitoring the host, you will be monitoring the app, for which you will access your application server, your Linux machine, and then log into that, and then you'll go and run these utilities to get the metrics, right? And similarly, your logs as well, error logs, exception logs, access logs, right? All these things you will connect to these machines, and then look into those when you run a test, or when you run your scripts, to know, is there a problem with the server, or is it a problem with your script, right? To differentiate those issues, you have to log into the server to do the log analysis. Okay, when there are going to be tools like Splunk, or even APM tool, they can also provide you this log and errors. But the cases where you don't have these tools, you have to still log into the Linux machine, and then you should know how to use Linux to look into the logs, look into the error logs, look into the exceptions, and then probably even copy that into another file, and then get back to your Windows machine for further analysis. Okay, so all these things are, you're going to do it from a application server perspective. And then even further, the teams are now expecting you to deploy the your jar files, war file of your application, stop the servers. If you're going to do kind of an engineering profiling, right, then you will take your war file from the build management tools, okay, artifactories, and then you have to go and deploy it in the Tomcat or JBoss, and then you do stop all these things. So all these minimum administrative work you will be asked to do it. Even from a testing perspective also, after a test is completed, if you want to repeat a test, you cannot wait for the other people to come and do you these administrative tasks, right? You might have to get a new build, deploy it, stop the servers, and then deploy these new war files. All these administrative tasks you will do it in the Linux machine. So you will be supposed to do all this interaction with the application softwares, application servers. Okay, and then for monitoring as well, right? There are tools like JConsole, profiling tool like JProfilers, and then to make your monitoring a little easy, you may also want to go and install some of the open source tools like InfluxDB, Telegraph, Grafana in your Linux machines, right? So all these things are all expected, minimal things that are expected. Again, we are not going to do a lot of things in Linux. So at least these things, right? From a load generator perspective, from an application server perspective, for monitoring, for installing softwares, doing some log analysis, and then setting up these tools like JConsole, JProfiler, and then Telegraph, InfluxDB, Grafana, kind of open source monitoring. All these things are what you are supposed to do it. Practically, this is what the usage of Linux for our performance testing. Okay, and then even to do some basic performance engineering, you're doing a load testing, and then there's a problem with your memory or a CPU. You should know how to go and take the heap dump, thread dump. We cannot ask the development team or other teams to go and take those dump when you see the problem, right? So you should know at least how to go and take those dumps, and then set up some heap configurations, thread configurations. For all these things in Linux machine, you will be doing it. Okay, basic engineering steps. Okay, so these are the practical usage of Linux in performance testing project, right? Once you at least able to do these things by yourself, all these things whatever as mentioned, right? And then further, depending upon the need, depending upon the project, you might have to do certain other things. It all depends upon the need of the project, but these are the basic things you should be able to do it comfortably when you're asked to work in the project where your applications are there in Linux, your load generators are there in Linux. Okay, so that is how we have designed this course as well. Yeah, though it is a crash course, yes, we as I said, right, there are not 100 things for you to learn here. Okay, more you practice, more you will gain confidence. So this crash course is designed to cover these aspects, whatever practical usage of Linux and performance testing, as whatever I mentioned. That is what we are trying to cover it in this crash course. Okay, so I'll just go over the topics that we will cover. The overall crash course is going to be what, between 5, 6, 7 hours. It can go beyond, depending upon interaction, depending upon the questions. It might go beyond 7 hours also, but it will be between 5 to 7 hours is what we have planned this crash course. Okay, so the topics are going to be, we will start with the very basics of Linux, how to create a Linux instance in AWS. Okay, and then what are the software that is required, we'll go and install it. Okay, things like PuTTY, WinSCP, and how we will go and connect your Linux machine from Windows machine. What are the prerequisites? How do we go and connect? Okay, how the authentication works, and then basic navigation in your Linux file system, right? For you to do the log analysis, you have to handle the your files and folders, right? So if it is a GUI based system like your Windows, right, you can just go back, go into the particular folder in a mouser, you will be able to do it, all these things. But since it's a non-GUI mode, you have to use it everything through terminal. So basic things that is required for you to interact with Linux is what we will look into it. And then for you, when you get a Linux machine, right, it is not going to have the pre-built softwares, whatever you need it. So you have to go and install it. So how do you install it? There's something called package managers for you to install the software. So what are the package manager? You will use it. How to use it? Okay, and then we will start from anything for you to install basics of Java. Java is going to be the minimal prerequisite, right, for your Jmeter. For any software like Grafana, InfluxDB, anything, your Java is going to be a prerequisite. So we'll go and install the Java, okay, and then we'll go and install few other softwares for say Tomcat, and then we'll go and deploy a sample application, and then we'll go and start and stop the server. So we'll make that environment ready in Linux. We create a Linux machine, we navigate through these folders, we install Java using package manager, and then server, web server, and then we'll go and deploy a sample application, and then we'll start the server. So now we have a machine which has Java, which has application running in a Tomcat. That's your application under test, right? We'll create that so that we'll comfortably will be able to know how to do all these things. And then from there we'll go. So your application is now there. You have created a Linux. You connected to the Linux. Then we'll go and see how are we going to monitor these OS level metrics. How to monitor your application level metrics, right? So we'll go and look into various utilities, top VMstat, IOStat, kind of a tools, how to execute it in Linux to get these your performance vitals. Okay, and then from application perspective, we'll see how to enable the JVM monitoring, how to modify the settings in your JVM to enable the JVM monitoring or JConsole monitoring. Okay, and how to connect that JConsole. And then, so all these things are from the monitoring perspective, monitoring your OS, monitoring your JVM. And then we will move on to the log analysis. We will probably navigate your application, and so that some logs are getting created, or we can probably even before log analysis, right, we will go and have these Jmeter setup ready so that we can run this small test so that logs will be there for us to analysis. So we can probably shuffle a few things before log analysis. We will see how to install Jmeter, how to transfer the scripts from your Windows machine to Jmeter, from Jmeter scripts from your Windows to your Linux, and then we'll go and execute the test and see how to transfer the JTL file back to your Windows machine. And we'll also look into the so when we run a Jmeter test, right, how to monitor it through Grafana. So we'll go and set up the InfluxDB Grafana in the Linux machine and connect with the Jmeter. Okay, and we'll also look into the Jmeter master slave configuration, how it is going to be done in your Linux machine. So complete Jmeter setup and execution and monitoring setup for Jmeter is what we will try to learn here. Okay, so once that is done, then while we run a test, right, there will be a lot of, that might be some errors, exception. Then we'll go and see how to use the Linux commands to browse the your error logs. Okay, and then either transfer it to your Windows machines or copy it to the other file. So all these log related activity, we will try to do it. Okay, and as part of the monitoring itself, right, as an extension, we'll also try to install Telegraph, Influx Grafana in your Linux machine to monitor your servers. So we can do monitoring two ways, right? You can go and execute VM stats top and then get those metrics there, or instead I can also go and install these open source tools in the Linux machine, so that I can monitor through an UI, through a Grafana, right? The Grafana is a visualization tool. You can monitor it visually in the UI. Okay, so we'll see how to install Telegraph Influx Grafana in the Linux machine, and from your laptop you can open the Grafana URL and you can monitor it. Okay, we'll do the setup and then learn how to do it. And then basic things, as I mentioned earlier, right? How to, while the test is running, how to go and take the heap dump, how to go and take the thread dump, how to set the heap configuration, how to set the thread configuration. Okay, so we are not going to go into the engineering aspect, how to analyze it. It is more about how to do it, how to take your heap dumps, thread dumps in the Linux machine, how to go and set a heap configuration, thread configuration in the Linux machine. Because analysis of this is going to be same, either the dump is coming from Windows machine or the dump is going to come from Linux machine, is not going to change. So we will not go to the engineering aspect. We'll stick on to the how to use Linux machine to do this activity. And at the end, we'll also look into the Docker setup, because Docker is something very famous, packaging of all your dependencies. So we'll see what is Docker and installation of Docker, and we'll try to pull the Jmeter image from the Docker repos, and then we'll do a Jmeter Docker setup, and we'll go and do a simple execution in Docker itself. Okay, so these are the topics which we will cover it as part of the crash course, covering all the aspect what I was mentioning about the practical usage of Linux and performance. Okay, this course is very tailored enough to people who are never used Linux, or relatively very new to Linux, right? For performance testers, performance engineers, for testers, for them to get comfortable, so that any project they will be able to go and confidently say, yes, I can do these things in Linux. So otherwise, most of the cases, right, many of us, even including me, in the earlier years, we were reluctant to use the Linux for obvious reasons. Okay, so that is the main intention of this crash course, how quick you can learn. And one good thing is you can do all these things by yourself, right? You can create a Amazon AWS account, and then there are free missions available in Amazon for you to use it. For doing all these things, you can, most of these things you can do it free in the free tier itself. Okay, if at all you want to install too many softwares to run too many things, you can probably, if you can spend some probably 300 rupees or 400 rupees in a month, right? You can easily get a better Linux machine where you can try out a lot of things. Otherwise, even without paying any money, you can still go and do these things by creating a Linux machine in the AWS. There are also options available where in Windows itself, you can go and install some virtualization softwares, and then you can install Linux in that and then try it out. There is also an option, but any virtualization tool in your Windows, it is a little tricky. It might slow down your performance of your Windows, or if there's something free available, I think it is better to go and use that in the Azure or GCP or AWS. We will see it probably today or tomorrow, how to use the AWS to create a Linux version. Okay, I'll just take a pass here. If you guys have any questions on the topics, on the schedule, please let me know. The schedule is going to be the same time, 7 a.m. To 8 a.m. Every day in the morning, from tomorrow, the weekdays, not the weekends. So yeah, I'll take a pass, guys. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask the question.
Hi, how long will it take to complete the course? I mean, how many sessions do we?
So as I said, right, we from starting tomorrow, we will take minimum of 5 days, maximum of 7 days. That is a plan. So it can be 5 days, or 7 days.
So by next weekend it will be over.
Correct. Yeah. Mostly by next week, it should be over. Again, it depends. If somebody
Right.
just try that up, we might give 1 day break in between so that we can practice and come back. If not, we'll just go with the daily um, schedule.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Satish.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, this is Varaha. I think if you are having class daily, what will happen? We don't have time to practice at all. So I think just listening doesn't help. We need more practice on this one, Linux side.
Yeah, see, as I said, right, you can, if possible, you can practice it in the same day. Or what we can also do is we can probably go alternate also. I don't have a problem. Okay. We can probably give 1 day in between, and then we can go alternate days. So we can decide as a group what that we want. We can do both. Go at a stretch, finish it, or I would recommend to have alternate, so that you can practice and then you can listen to the next class. So yeah, we can go alternate days. I don't have a problem.
Yeah. Because why I'm saying, because I think everybody working. So I think I don't think they can get any time in the daytime to work on this assignment and all. So if we alternate also fine. Maybe I think once in 2 days like
Yeah.
that. I mean,
I think we'll go.
whatever everybody decided. I'm just saying.
Correct. Yeah, I think we'll not give too many breaks. Minimum of alternate days. So if, say for example, tomorrow we'll have it, and then anyway weekend is there. Monday we'll have it, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'll go with that alternate days.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So time will be same 9:30 Eastern, right?
Yeah, time is going to be exactly the time in which we started today, 7
Okay,
a.m.
sure.
IST.
Okay, thank you.
Satish, we have different flavors of Linux, and the commands also differ. So are you going to cover all of those?
Okay, so that's a good question, right? There are a lot of distributions. Okay, and obviously we cannot go and practice every distribution from a learning perspective, but the basics are not going to change. Okay, 75% are not going to change because all these things are evolved from a from Linux. Linux is the OS. From there, since it's open source, right, a lot of teams have taken that Linux based version and they have created something on their own. They would have increased the security, they would have increased the performance, they would have increased the usability. So there are a lot of distributions: Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, Red Hat, which is very uh, uh, popular, right, commercially. So we'll just take one or two randomly, but you don't need to worry about it. Okay, see, installing the softwares, navigating it, your basic stuff, whatever we are going to do it, right, it is not going to change. Okay, 75% is not going to change. And say for example today you have used Red Hat, okay, and you've done all these things in the project. They are going to use Ubuntu. Okay, so say for example you want to install Java, you want to install Jmeter, and you wanted to go and probably navigate through these folders and then check those Tomcat logs. Okay, you know how to all do all these things in the Red Hat. Okay, now if the same thing you're using in Ubuntu and it is not working. Okay, for example, um, for me to install the software, right, Java, there are multiple ways you can do it. I'll use yum for say Red Hat, or for Amazon Linux, yum will work. I'll say what is package manager. But if you go to Ubuntu or CentOS, right, the yum software will not work. You have to use apt. Okay, so few things will vary. It is just that once you have confidence of using it in one distribution, you can just go Google it, say how to install software in Ubuntu, you will get answer say apt. The default package managers will be available in the all this distribution. I'm saying an example. Okay, so to answer your question, you cannot go and learn all the distribution, not record it all, but 90% of the time concepts are going to be same, the commands are going to be same. So once you start using it, you can easily learn the how to do it in the other distribution, and nobody will go and actually learn it. When it comes to usage, it is matter of you to go and get it from the your user manual. So idea is to get comfortable with one or two. We'll just probably randomly use both Linux, Amazon Linux, okay, and then probably Red Hat. Okay, Red Hat is something very popular when it comes to projects, when it comes to enterprise, right? Most of the enterprise servers are Red Hat, right? It's a commercially very popular distribution. So yeah, we'll just pick Linux EC2 and Red Hat for our exercises. Or somebody, if you really wanted to go and try Ubuntu, right? For example, just try doing it, and if you face any problem, we'll just discuss and see how to handle it. But otherwise, no need for learning every distribution.
Hi Sitish, this is Naren here. Regarding
Yes,
the app setup and monitoring, do you provide any sample Java app?
yes. So I have a Java app called eLibrary. So that Java app war file, I'll give it to you. Even I have the code. If you really want to have the code and Eclipse in your laptop, you can also do it. So both the code and the war file, I will give it to you. And the Jmeter scripts, whatever I would have created for this purpose, those things will be uploaded to the Google Drive, and I'll give access to the Google Drive. Whatever artifacts we are going to create it, right? Not much artifacts are going to be available anyway, because we are just practically going to do it. But from a war file, a Java app, I'll give it. And the commands, whatever you are going to use it, right? Anyway, these videos will be shared to you every day. The videos will be recorded, and the videos will be available for you to refer it for during the course, after the course, in the future. The videos will be available. Okay. But the commands, important commands, all these things will also document that in a Word doc. All this will be uploaded to the Google Drive. So yeah, to answer the question, this is Java app war file will be uploaded to the drive, which you can use it. Okay, I'll probably go and show you the app as well. Yeah, if there are any questions, feel free to ask those questions while I try to go and open this app. So this is something I have in my Windows machine with the same Tomcat. We will try to install it in the Linux, and then we'll start the server and then access the app. Let it start. Meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll just go to the so this is the if you go to the aws.amazon.com, you can create your own account, a trial account. Okay, so while creating a trial account, it will ask you to provide your credit card, but they won't charge you anything. It is just for the creating the account. Okay, in future, in the account, if we are going to use any missions that is going to have a price tag, then it will be charged. Otherwise, for creating an account, for using the free tiers, there won't be any charge at all. Okay, so once you log into this, once you create an account, once you log into the AWS, right, you can go and search the service called EC2. Okay, so here, right, you can go and click the instances, and then you can create a launch the instance. Okay, when you launch the instance, you're going to all the available distributions in terms of Linux, in terms of Windows, all these things going to be available here. Okay, it can be Red Hat, it can be Debian, it is Windows, Ubuntu, all the OS which are available in your Amazon EC2 services, it is going to be available, and few things will be marked as a free tier eligible. So for this learning, you will go and select the missions which are eligible for free tier, so that we don't go and pay unnecessarily to the your AWS. So you can go and just pick the mission which you wanted to try out. For example, I'll go and try Red Hat, which is free tier is eligible. I'll go and select this. You can go and very well select the 64-bit x86 processor. Okay, anything is fine, but we'll just go with the default. Okay, if you see here, you have configurations. Okay, so you can go and select whether you want 1 CPU 1 gig, 1 CPU 2 gig, 2 CPU 4 gig. All these combinations are available, but for the free access, you have to pick T2 micro. Okay, otherwise if you go and pick say T2 medium or T2 large, okay, if you go to the next details, right, somewhere it will provide you the how much it's going to cost you as well. Okay, so we'll for at least at the beginning, right, even for the entire learning session, I don't think we would need anything more than this. You can just go and select the T2 micro, and then yes, I want to continue with this instance T2 micro. Okay, and then you can just leave all these things by default. Okay, you don't need to do anything at all. And then add storage. So by default, it will say 10 GB of storage will be available in your mission, but we can go up to 30 GB. So 30 GB is eligible for the free tier. Okay, if you're going to give more than 30, okay, say if you're going to give 100, then you will be charged. Okay, so don't ever give more than 30. And then say add tag. You can just skip it. Just a tag is for you to group the missions under a particular name. If you're going to create 5-10 missions, app server, web server, DB servers, you can just provide some tag, or else is not required. And then security group. Initially, we will not go any other port opened. Okay, so for you to connect your Linux machine from your Windows. Okay, from your Windows, if you want to connect to a Linux machine, we just need this SSH port. So default, it will show this SSH port. That alone, we will add it. Okay, later when you are going to install, say, Grafana, or when you're going to install your application, right, your application will be hosted in 8080 or 80 or 8082. Grafana will be listening in, say, some 8000 port. Okay, so for you to access the application, for you to access the Grafana from your laptop, then you need to go and modify the security rules. Okay, I'll go and add the rules, say HTTP. And then add a rule HTTPS if you want HTTPS, or again HTTP. I'll go and say 8082. So whichever port you wanted to open, so that you can access that from your outside, right? You need to add those in the security group. So once you create a mission, also we can go and select that mission and modify the security group. We can do it. Okay. So by initially, you no need to worry about all these things. let's just open from a security purpose also, it is always good to not open too many ports. Just open one port, okay, which is required for you to connect through putty or connect through WinSAP. Okay, and then review and launch. Okay, so yeah, this is the important thing you need to remember. This is for your authentication. This is for your connecting to your Linux VM. You need to go and create a new key pair. This key pair is what it will use to handshake while you go and connect to your Linux machine. So you can go and say, give a name. You can give a name, say any name you can give it. You can say auth for Linux, and you can download the key pair. Okay, download the key pair. This file, this .pem file is important for your authentication. If you lose it, you will not be able to connect to that machine at all. Okay, so have this pem file while creating it, give the name and then download it. Okay, and then launch it. If you don't download it, right, it says you will not be able to download the file again after it's created. So you may have to go then terminate this machine and create a new machine. Okay, so we are launching the instance. It will take probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes for your machine to get created. So you can go back to the your instances. So it will probably show it is getting started. Okay, so the one which we created now, I think it is running. If you click it right here in the bottom, you will get all the IP address through which you will be connecting it to your next machine. Okay, so this is a simple steps which you can follow to create a Linux machine in AWS. And any other cloud providers, right, Azure, GCP also, it is going to be pretty much straightforward. You go launch instance, it will ask what kind of instance you want, Linux or Windows, or which distribution of Linux you want. Go and select the configuration, 1 GB, 2 GB, 4 CPU, 8 CPU, and then go and to the further steps and then create it. Okay, so just take a pause here. Probably tomorrow we'll get into the this Linux mission, and then we will go and start with our actual course. Okay, so what I'll do is I can go and also go and stop this, terminate this, reboot this. Okay, or I can also go and modify your security group also to open further ports also. We can do all these things from here. For now, I'll just go and stop it so that even though it is a free tier, I don't want to keep it running the entire day. So I'll just go and stop it. Okay, so you can go and create an EC2 mission. You can go and create an AWS account first of all. Okay, and then only thing is you need to provide a credit card, valid credit card for your for them to just understand that yes, you are using it for your learning purpose seriously, and then you can go and create an account. Okay.
Does this
fine,
course
guys.
cover AWS CLI command?
Sorry.
AWS CLI command.
What is it? AWS CLI commands.
Are those covered as a part of this course?
No. See, this course is not for AWS, right? So we'll not go into the AWS CLI commands. We're not going to look into the AWS CLI commands, how to interact. See, we can create this instance through CLI commands, right? That's what you're referring to. I don't need to go to AWS console to create an instance. I can do all these things in the AWS CLI itself. I can install AWS CLI in my Windows machine. I can authenticate through AWS, and then you can go and create a mission or activate a service, do all these things without the UI itself. See, AWS CLI is mostly going to be useful when you're going to integrate your application code with your AWS services. But for administrative purposes, whatever we are going to do, AWS console is more than enough. So which means we are not going to cover AWS CLI because that is nothing to do with the Linux learning. So it is not required from the objective of the course.
Hi Satish.
Okay, thank
Is it possible to keep session from 7:15 a.m.?
It's little difficult. Yeah. Probably I'll check once everyone is enrolled, right? I'll probably check with everyone because people are connecting from various regions, and then now with the office started, right? People are also wanted to commute. That is the main reason we wanted to wrap it up before 8 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, but yeah, if once everybody enrolls, right, we'll just probably take a call from everyone, and then, right. But for now, yeah, it is between 7 to 8.
Hi Satish, can you please show the app which you launched, e-library?
Yeah, this is the one. So this is the app which will be using it. Again, any app is going to be same because we're going to just see how we're going to deploy this WAR file and then how to start and stop, how to set the configuration, the configuration. We'll create a few scripts like login, this view library, and those scripts will be already created, which will be transferring it to the Linux machine to execute it. So, but yeah, this is the Java app which will be using it in the course.
Thank you.
Okay. Fine, guys. So any other question you have during the day, just put it in the WhatsApp message. Anything, any related to the fees or the course content, just feel free to put it in the group. We'll be able to answer it. Okay. And regarding the payment and the anything related to the fees, you can reach out to Kumar sir. Okay. I'll just provide this. Just give me 1 second. I think he's there in the WhatsApp group as well, so you can just message, and then anything related to the payment or fees, you can ask Kumar sir. Anything related to the course content, if you have any doubts, put in the group. I'll be able to answer it, guys. Okay. Fine. Okay then. Yeah, we'll again meet tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, they did.